Hey guys, I'm doing an experiment here. There was a very interesting article at Feminista where Monica was talking about passing for transsexuals and transgender people. I think, it seems like she's mostly focusing on trans women, but I entered the conversation. I think it's a very interesting conversation because Feminista does not have an established orthodoxy one way or the other. But Monica's post is a challenging post for, what I've been calling victim transfeminism. Partly because it's talking about accountability. It's talking about agency for gender variant people and making decisions about passing or not passing. One of the things that so there's been a lot of reaction, and a lot of it positive, and a lot of it the same kind of politically correct. It's politics of language, politics of hierarchies of victimization, but also of language. Of you can't use that language. So what I'm going to try to do, rather than blogging each of these entries, I'm just going to read through some of them and give my comments. Take a look at the full article. There'll be a link. Take a look at the full article before you listen to this stuff, I would say, or come back and listen again. Okay, so Jay in Chicago says, I had thought and considered to think this post is wrong-headed. Stealth trans people didn't create cissexism and they shouldn't be blamed for it. I find Jay just really the most orthodox victim transfeminist here. It's always going back to this trope of, from victim feminism of, you're blaming the victim. So it's trans people and transitioned trans people. So people who actually choose to pass in stealth, he's defining as the biggest victims, and saying we shouldn't blame them. Where, in fact, what I'm doing, what Monica is doing is not blaming them. It's saying, stand up for yourself. It's like collectively we can achieve something. If we're all in the closet, then we can't achieve anything. Okay, he goes on to say, besides the fact that many trans people these days aren't stealth or out, those words have no personal meaning for me. And that's kind of the metaphysics of this identity politics. And I'm not really out on this one. I can't really define it. But what this is it derails arguments by saying, I personally don't identify with the word stealth, so you can't use it. It's kind of that the only important thing with language now is how a person chooses to talk about themselves. I definitely see this from politically correct feminism. That's definitely where this came. But it's really trying to police language. It's really trying to say, you don't have the right to talk about stealth anymore. Even though from a, conceptual point of view, it exists. We can point to it. But it's kind of this derailing of the identity politics of, I don't identify with that word, you can't use it. And you see that again and again. So then Jay in Chicago comes back and says, also, I really can't believe you thought it appropriate to post this here on a cis space. Notice cis, not cissexual. On a cis space that does not have the greatest track record in regards to trans people, particularly trans women. So again, it's, the victimization. It's this site has victimized us. How can you, discuss this here? And, what Jay wants is this to be a closed discussion where, cis people will look in, because, those are, as I said in my victimization video. You know, that's the oppressor, right? The cis people are the oppressor, so we can't have this argument where the cis people are around. They might pay attention. Oh my God. You know, and, you know, but then, you know, what goes on is he's saying only have it in trans space, which is actually people who've already bought into his ideology, right? So the only place, you know, it's like Trotskyists going out and saying, you know, we don't believe in Stalinism or Leninism. And then the Stalinist saying, I can't believe you've just said that to the capitalists. The only place we can have this discussion is in the Workers' International, where where my ideology runs the place. You know, so it's kind of like trying to give a guilty conscience for bringing up these issues where, you know, where there is an orthodoxy. It's like you have to accept the orthodoxy. And, you know, and the other one that I'm seeing again and again is this using the word cis without a qualifier. You know, I've discussed this before. You know, that means cissexual. It can't mean anything else. So he's actually also saying, how dare you discuss this in front of me, you know, because I chose not to transition, because I chose to be a no electrolysis trans woman. I'm cissexual. So, you know, so Monica's not actually allowed to have this conversation anywhere where I might hear it or I might be able to participate. Okay, Betsy comes in and says, I agree with Jay in Chicago. Okay, we shouldn't be having this discussion here. It's politically incorrect. Emmett jumps in. So I'm just, yeah, and this is just a selection, right? Emmett jumps in and says, while part of me would love stealth people to be open about their history, I would never criticize people who do not feel strong enough to stand up against the tide of prejudice. You know, so this wasn't Emmett, this is somebody else, sorry. But, you know, it's, yeah, whatever. But then Emmett comes in and says, stealth people are cowards, you know, quoting that. You know, not 10 comments in, why am I not surprised? You know, so this is this whole victim thing is, you know, we're having this conversation where the cis people are, of course they're going to oppress us. And here's this person saying stealth people are cowards, which is because the person said I would never criticize people who do not feel strong enough to stand up against the tide of prejudice. You know, I mean, there is a value there saying, you know, that you should stand up against prejudice. And that's what they're critiquing, but but they play on this, oh, you're calling us cowards kind of victimization thing. Okay, then Betsy B comes in to Emmett, no shit, right? It's like, how, you know, all of this transphobia, how can we have our discussion here when, you know, really what it is all these people who don't agree with us, how can we have this conversation here? Okay, this is 8 minutes. I'm going to stop this one and I'm going to make another one. Okay, bye-bye.